Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning to you guys. I love you all so very much, and I love you guys so very much. Just a few moments ago, I just prayed, I prayed, and we just prayed over today and over you, and literally that you have been handpicked by God for what we're going to be sharing today. And I pray that whether you're watching it live or that you watch it, during the week, that today's message will resonate with your heart, it will resonate in your spirit, and that you will gain so much as God, I believe, is going to position us as we are coming to the end of 2020. Man, I know you guys, I'm sure many of us are ready to say goodbye to this year, but yet I am so very grateful. And I just, without getting super emotional about it, which is hard for me, I want you to know, like in the midst of a very trying year for all of us, I just really believe for many of us, and I pray that it's been so for you, because I know it's been this for me, that in the most trying year have come actually some of the greatest blessings. And I'm so very grateful for each and every one of them. And when this year began, the Lord said to me, before the year began, He said, I just want you to trust me. And now I'm on that journey, as I know you are. And we had no idea what the year had in store. But He brought us to a place of trusting Him. And so I'm on that journey with you. And it's, in the midst of hardship, I just, for some reason, I just need to share this with you. When David lost his son, the story, it's the most profound story in 2 Samuel 12. And David had slept with Bathsheba, and she bore him a son that got sick. And David had all of his staff praying and believing God, and they're fasting, praying, asking God for a miracle for his son. And his son ended up passing away. And the Bible says this, and to me it's the most powerful verse. And so it says David was on the ground. And so I think the scripture said he was on the ground for 7 days. So I want you to think about that. Not shaving, not showering. He's just on the ground for 7 days, believing God for a miracle. Well, his son ends up dying, and he notices his servants talking in the corner, and he recognizes that his son has died. So he gets up, and here's that verse. In verse 20, it says, and David got up off the ground. It doesn't say the angel came. It doesn't say Nathan came and gave him a prophetic word. David simply got up off the ground because what was done was done. His son has died. And to me, I just believe that whatever this year has been, whether it's been good, trying, it's been a great year for you, I believe that God has something in store for us. And out of David's greatest tragedy actually came his greatest blessing. Because when you read that story, literally within the short few verses of his son dying, he gets up off the ground, and he does some very specific things in his relationship with God. And he says to his servants, I can't bring him back, but I can go to him. And literally in that moment of having lost a son, Bathsheba conceives his new son, Solomon. And I believe that out of our greatest difficulties, out of our greatest trials, out of our greatest hardships, that I believe God is setting everything up, that out of your greatest trial will come your greatest blessing. And I pray that you will just open your heart to receive what God has in store for you, for your life, for your ministry, for your family, for those around you. That what is ahead of us is going to be so profound, no matter who sits in the White House, no matter what happens in our country. God has His hand on your life, and God has a plan for your life. And so on this last Sunday of 2020, let's worship. Let's honor him. And let's, like David, no matter what the year has been, let's get up off the ground and let's begin to look forward to what is in store. Thank you for being on this journey. Thank you for walking this journey with me. And I know I'm looking at a camera and I've got some people here whom I love. But no matter time, no distance, no matter if it's a camera or in person, God has something in store. And God is not going to allow distance nor a lens to separate what he has joined together in heart, in prayer, in fasting, in believing, in faith. And so let's come into agreement right now. No matter how this year has been, the best is yet to come, even in the few days left in 2020. I'm so believing that God is going to take us and tweak our lives and adjust us so that we can face forward for what is ahead. Father, in Jesus' name, on this last Sunday of 2020, on December the 27th, Father, I ask you to have your way. And I ask that your presence will fill us, that you will empty us of everything that we've been holding on to, the disappointment, the trials, the hardships, the negativity, the drama, the offenses, the unforgiveness. Father, as we stand on this threshold of entering into a new year, help us to let go of what was, and help us to grab on and hold on to you so tightly. Father, I pray in Jesus' name that you will anoint our lives for the season ahead. And Lord, that on this last Sunday, God, receive our worship and let us worship with gratitude like we have never worshiped before. Not just thanking you for what you have done, but praising you for what is ahead. Lord, we honor you. It is all about you. And so we lift our hearts and our hands in surrender as we worship the God who said, I will be with you. The God who said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I ask that your presence will fill every heart, every person, every room. You are so good to us. We worship you. For those of you here, would you please stand and lift your hands, lift your hearts to him. And Trey's going to lead us in worship. And however you're positioned at home, the most important thing isn't the posture of just your hands or your body, but the posture of your heart. Let's worship. And let's prepare our hearts. And listen, give him the best. It's the last Sunday. Give him the best. Like focus on him. May he touch your life with your presence today. May you experience the best of 2020 because of what's coming in 2021.
Hi TGP family, we're so excited to see how many of you watch from all over the country and the world. Even though we're all in different places, we're still a family. We would love to connect with you and be able to put a face to your name. You might be watching from a coffee shop or sitting on the couch with your dog. You might even be having a watch party with your friends and family. No matter where you are, we want to see how you watch our TGP service. Here's what you can do. Grab your phone, post a picture of wherever you're watching from, and use the hashtag MyTGPView. You can tag all of our socials in the picture as well so we can stay connected with you in the future.
You guys, thank you so much again. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for making the effort. And I want to get right into this and sort of set everything up. So today is going to be sort of like an overview of what I have just this whole week. I've been off of social media pretty much. Pretty much. And I just sort of took this week to just really hear the Lord for me, for my life, for my journey. And he began to speak to me, and I'm going to get into that in just a moment. And so it'll be more of an overview of what I believe he is going to be doing in the year ahead. And so I titled the message, It's Time to Rebuild for the Future. But before I get into moving forward with 2021, I want to just sort of position as we just sort of celebrated Christmas, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. And of course, pray that you have the most amazing week into the new year. And so here we are on the last Sunday of 2020. We are closing out a very difficult year for so many people. And so the first part of sharing all of this is I titled it, Holding Up Your Lamp. And because John 1, verse 19, as we think about Christmas, as we think about everything that celebrates the life of Christ, John 1, verse 9 says, the true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. And for many of us, this has not been a particularly great year. It's not been one with sparkles and cupcakes. In fact, for many of us and for many of you, it's been downright dark, painful, scary. On top of a very difficult year, for some, you entered into a holiday season where it was really hard on you financially, it was hard on you emotionally, it was hard on you physically, it was hard on you spiritually. Even though you may have had a wonderful Christmas day, then it could have been just, by that night you're filled with fear and all of the things sort of, when everybody leaves, you're in that room alone, and then all the fears kick right back in. Some of us have been burned out from running around. You sort of, the whole week or the whole month leading into Christmas with all of the meals and the preparations. And I mean, we're just tired. We're just, by the time Christmas Day comes, we're tired. We're exhausted. And then we think to ourselves, why was 2020 so tiring in so many ways? For many of you, or maybe some of you, I pray that it was just some of you, that this is your first holiday without a loved one. This is the first holiday that you were unable to give gifts or receive gifts the way that you normally do. And we look around us and there's people that are, holly and jolly, and then we're wondering, where is that in our life? Why is this not happening? So I'm asking you to please just bear with me, because I have to just position this whole message around how the Lord began to deal with me this week. Because in just a few moments, I'm going to deliver to you what the Word of God, what His Word was. So on Wednesday morning, this was Wednesday, December 23rd, God began to speak to me concerning the year and how He's going to position 2021. And so I want to come back to the idea of holding up your lamp, because Christmas always reminds us about, this day and this season, about celebrating when God Himself came into the world to bring hope and to bring light and to bring salvation, that even though we may be pressed by the enemy on every side of us, there is a light that came. And there is a light that is here. And sometimes it is so easy to get wrapped up in all of the darkness around us and in all the confusion around us that we lose sort of focus of the light that's inside of us. And so, which is why it's so important, every opportunity we have, even in the darkest of moments, it's an opportunity to be really, to praise God and to be grateful. And I'm so grateful for our church family, our church community. I'm grateful for the joy in that no matter what the enemy does to try to smother that light, he can't do it. And so there is one who lights up the darkness. And so no matter how dark 2020 may have been for you, there is one who lights that darkness. In John 1 verse 5, it says this, in him was life, and that life was the light of men. That light shines in darkness, and yet darkness did not overcome it. And there is a light inside of us. There is a light inside of you that no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what you've been through, no matter what the struggles, the weaknesses, no matter what it is that the enemy has done that has literally tried to smother that light by the darkness, the darkness cannot handle the light that's on the inside of you. And that's why I'm beginning this whole message with, as we look forward into the new year, because what is behind us is behind us. We cannot go back and get it. You can't go back and get your last breath. You can't go back and get yesterday. And I've said it a lot of times. There's a reason that God put your eyes in front of your skull, not behind. There's a reason that everything about you is forward. The way your hands move is forward. The way your feet are pointed is forward. Everything about you and the way that God has wired your life and my life is to move forward. And our tendency is always to look back. And our tendency is to try to always just sort of what happened. And that literally paralyzes us from ever moving forward. And so there is a light, and God wants you to hold up that light as you look forward to the new year. So imagine if you could, just with me, that you're holding a lantern. The lantern doesn't light up what's behind you. The lantern lights up what's in front of you so you can see as you move forward. Because everything between today and the new year is about moving forward. And then you will carry that light into the new year. And that's what Christmas was all about. The light that came into the world, the salvation that came into the world, the hope that came into your world, into my world. And the tendency is to sort of let things try to smother that light with the despair and the worry and the anxiety. And we dealt with a lot of that in this particular year. And so this is why I believe it is so important for me to position this whole message in the way that literally the way the Lord has spoken it to me. So yet, regardless of the circumstances and the struggles, and even in our own feelings, we know that the darkness does not win. Darkness will never win. You gotta let your faith get a hold of that. That darkness that you've been enduring, that darkness that you guys have been going through will never win because of the light that's on the inside of you. And so that light is, not only has that light come, but there is a light yet to come. And I just believe as we hold up that lamp, and we hold it up for the future, God is going to begin to allow us to see what that new year, how that new year is going to unfold in your life. That's why earlier on I prayed, Lord, open our eyes. Open our eyes to what you want us to see. Like, open our ears to hear what the Spirit of God is saying to us. It's not what, this is all, this is concerning my life, my journey, but I know that it will connect with a lot of us because we're on this journey together. But I know that God is going to take something from this message and highlight it for you to grab a hold of in faith. And so regardless of what you've been through, it is behind you. And now it is to hold up your lamp because you're moving forward, because everything about you is going forward. And just in a few days from now, we will transition we are going to cross a threshold into a new year. And I think in this season where we have become so familiar with so much darkness, and yet my heart is full of so much anticipation because there's a light that is coming for 2021. And that's why, again, I'm going to say to you, I'm holding up my lamp because what's behind me is behind me and I can't go back and get it. Where whatever darkness you find yourself facing or whatever darkness you have faced in your life, I know that there's been some really painful moments. I know that there's been some really painful darkness that you've had to deal with. But remember that the light is coming, and indeed it is already come. The light is here. The light is in you. And so Jesus promised that he would craft beauty out of ashes, and that he can turn the most painful experiences into the best moments and to the best experiences of our life, as I shared earlier about David. The last 11 weeks, I've been sharing about how God can turn a setback into a comeback. And I just believe that yet some of the greatest comebacks are yet to still happen in your life and in my life. And I'm telling you, I have experienced in the midst of so much change, so much confusion, all the despair, everything that you deal with, I dealt with as well. But yet I want to tell you something. In the midst of all of that, I did not focus on all the despair. I didn't focus on all the discouragement. I didn't focus on all the things that are freezing up and people just paralyzed by all this kind of worry and fear. I'm telling you, the greatest blessings in my life came out of this year. And I'm not talking stuff. I'm talking people. I'm talking prayer. I'm talking encouragement. I'm talking moments with God. So I could choose to, reflect on, oh my God, what are we going to do? Here comes another, phase of the pandemic, and here comes another, restriction, and we can't do this and we can't do this. But I want to tell you something. God has used every one of those moments because I chose to look for the good in that moment. And God has done so much. And yet so if I'm thinking, if he's done this much in a year that has been filled with so much despair and so much confusion and so much darkness and so many painful experiences, what is about to happen in the year ahead? So I say to you again, and I say it prophetically to you, and I'm always so very careful when I say that, but I say it prophetically to you, hold up your lamp. Hold up your lamp, because where he's taking you is greater than where you've been. And the destiny that he's got in store for you, I'm talking to you guys in here as well. The destiny that he's got in store for you, you can't afford to look back. You can't afford to even just take a moment. If you're going to look back, do it for one reason, and to thank him for what he's brought you through, and then remember what you've been through so you don't repeat the cycle. And so there's this anticipation that I know that there is something about to break loose in our lives, in our hearts, in our faith. There's something deeply mysterious and miraculous about the promises of God. And I want to say that to you again. There's something deeply mysterious and miraculous about the promises of God. And I'm so grateful that we have this ability to imagine something that there's like, when you begin to imagine the abilities of God, you realize that there's nothing that can stop what he's doing. That's why Paul was able to say in Ephesians 3:20, it's not there, the verse isn't there for you. Unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you ask or think, according to the power that works on the inside of you. Listen to that. Unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly. In other words, if you can think it, you don't need God. If you can dream it, you don't need God. But unto him who is able to literally blow your mind with the greatest dreams that you've ever known or had, or promises, or destiny, or miracles, or blessings, like everything that he has in store for you, as great as you can imagine it, as wild as you can dream, what he's going to do will do exceedingly abundantly above all that you ask or think. Watch, according to the power that works inside of you. It isn't anything you work up. It isn't something you conjure. It is inside of you. It's the faith. It's the work of the Spirit of God that enlightens your spirit to what God has in store. That's why we need ears to hear. That's why we can't allow the negativity of voices and the negativity of life, when God literally has positioned your life every day to be a blessing in the midst of a crisis, in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of trials, in the midst of hardships. And this is why I believe this is important. And I'll say it again. The light is coming. My friend, it is time for you to hold up your lamp, because you can't spend the rest of this year, the remaining days of this year, looking backwards. There is something coming, and you're going to get to hear about it in just a moment. Isaiah 60 verse 19 says, the Lord will be your everlasting light. And so Jesus has come. He has accomplished his incredible work, and he sat down at the right hand of the Father. He has rescued us from darkness, and he is drawing us into this beautiful warmth of God's kingdom, the kingdom of light. And so I'm so very grateful that Jesus came. And I'm very grateful that Jesus came and Jesus died. And I'm grateful that he rose again. And today he's seated at the right hand of the Father. And so his story is the beginning of our story. Everything that we celebrate around Christmas, around the Christmas time, it's that his story that was literally in time past. Everything about his story that came to pass and was fulfilled. His story is the beginning of our story. Our light has come. We are new. We are loved. We belong. And again, whether you feel it or not, you need to hold up your lamp. because you are new, because you are new, because you are new. There's nothing old about you. The old has passed away and everything becomes new. Ephesians 5:8 says, walk as children of light. Jesus said, walk in the light as he is in the light. So when you think about it, we are children. In fact, 1 John says we're children of light. Everything about you is light. And so here we are. We walk as children of light. And when we get in touch with Jesus, we get in touch with what Jesus has done, what Jesus will do. Listen, we have so much to celebrate, because as you hold up your lamp, you're shining that light on others, and it's bringing hope to others. And that's really what it's all about to me. Growing up, becoming mature. And so as I was preparing, I'm going to shift now. As I was preparing all of this about holding up your lamp, because what's in store is greater than what was. I don't know what's going to happen in our economy. I don't care. I don't know what's going to happen in Washington. I don't know what's going to happen around the world. I don't know what attacks. I don't know what financial issues. I don't know, but I know this, that 2021 will be greater. And you're going to see why in just a moment. And so as I was preparing, God just began literally on Wednesday morning. I'm now preparing. I've been preparing for this for like a month. But I knew there would be a time, whether it was today, this week, or right before the new year, that the Lord would speak a word to me. And so it happened on December 23rd, Wednesday morning, and he said this. And he said, 2020 was a year of interruption. He said, my church needed an interruption. When many thought it was a year of vision and revision, he said it was actually a year of interruption. And I mean, my spirit just glued to these words. And then I was praying with my prayer covenant friend, and as we were praying about the new year, the word was in the prayer was 2020 and 1. And that as soon as that word came out, and I heard those words, 2020 and 1, my spirit latched on to 2020 and 1. Now, and 1 is a phrase, by the way, that is used in basketball when someone is fouled. And so what happens when there's a foul, if they're taking a shot, if there's a layup, I'm not much of a basketball fan, but I love this. I love any sport. But so you see it happen, and they go up for a layup, and there's a slap on the hand or the wrist, or something that impedes their ability to make the shot. They then go to the foul line, and they will throw. So either if they got the point, or if they got the basket, that's 2 points, and 1 is they go to the foul line, and they have an opportunity to do it again and add 1. So regardless of whether the foul is called or not, there is an and 1 if the shot is made, if the opportunity is taken. And that so grabbed my spirit. And 1. And I believe 2020 and 1 is an opportunity for you and I to begin to do things that we did not do this year. And though that we probably had many, many fouls throughout 2020, 2021 will be your and 1. And so whatever was missed, whatever you didn't make, whatever opportunities were closed, whatever doors closed, whatever windows were closed, whatever happened in your journey in 2020 this is going to be the year where the doors will open that were closed. This will be the opportunity that when you thought I was fouled, God is saying, but here's your opportunity for the and 1. So everything about this coming year, in spite of what is ahead, no matter what happens in Washington, no matter the transition in government, whatever we want to just talk about and whine about, there is a God who is going to work in your life and mine, no matter who sits behind that desk, no matter how the White House, no matter how the whole Washington establishment moves, thinks, does decisions, there is a God in your life and in mine who is going to turn every foul into an opportunity for an and one. Because at the end of 2021, you're going to look at all those opportunities and see all the things that God did when you were fouled, and now you were given an opportunity for restoration. You were given an opportunity to rebuild. You're given an opportunity to refocus. And I can go on and on and on. So 2021, after a year that has been filled with disappointment, disruption, even devastation, it is time to look forward and to start building again. Listen, this is the word that I just my spirit has latched onto. In the year of 2021, it is time to rebuild and refocus on what God has in store for you for the future. You can't keep looking back, because 2020 will be a year of rebuilding. I want to say it again. 2021 will be a year of rebuilding. What you weren't able to build in 2020, you will rebuild in 2021. And so things that did not happen, contracts that did not go through, situations that didn't unfold in 2021, all those things are going to begin to unfold, because every foul the enemy ever placed or caused or did in 2021, you're going to be given an opportunity literally to take back the points that the enemy took away from you, to take back what the enemy stole, right? And so it's this positioning, like literally, it's almost like in basketball, they go and they position themselves behind this specific line where it's just them in the basket, like me in that camera, and now I'm at a particular line and I have an opportunity. And by the grace of God, I know that when I take that shot, everything that the enemy tried to remove, everything he tried to steal, this will be our year to rebuild. This will be our year to refocus. This will be our year to begin to see that God is going to take everything the enemy took from us, and actually add it to us, so that we can begin to really move in the destiny that he has chosen for each of us. And so I just believe this. Let me just read through this real quickly, and then I'm going to unfold it a little bit deeper. So after a year, I've already said this, but after a year of disappointment and devastation, and even, all this disruption, God, I just believe 2020 was a year of interruption, and God's saying to the church, awaken, wake up to what I want to do in you, away and apart from the system. And so I believe that the Lord is imparting fresh vision. I believe that there's blueprints that he is going to be imparting for the new season. And I believe that for those of us that will step into 2021 with faith and confidence and encouragement, like there's going to be an encouragement that's going to come. There's going to be a faith that is going to be built. I just believe that as we move forward, there is something about this particular year that is coming, that it's going to be a time of rebuilding. So beginning next Sunday, and you just need to watch what's going to happen next Sunday, because I'm going to have a guest with me. We're going to share some things, because I just believe that. So moving forward with my mind with that, I'm going to begin a series in the new year on the life of Nehemiah. Because in Nehemiah 1, we read that Nehemiah wept about the walls in Jerusalem, and then he prayed. He wept and he prayed. He wept and he prayed. Take the next 4 days. I know some of us have wept a lot in 2020. Let's begin to pray over the next few days, because in the next few days, something is going to change, especially as we position our faith and our hearts as we move forward. And so as we step into this new season, there's going to be blueprints for this new season that is ahead of us. And so something good is going to happen. Something really, really good and something really powerful is going to happen. So Nehemiah, he weeps, and then he begins to pray. And after that, he began to build, and then the Lord began to bless his labor. So listen again. He wept, he prayed, he began to build, and the Lord blessed his labor. I'm telling you, something is going to happen in your life as you have wept, as you have prayed. Now it is time to rebuild, because as we rebuild, God is going to bless our labor. and there's going to come an acceleration of his blessings. There's going to come an acceleration and an increase of everything that you're doing, because this is going to be about him working his plans in your life. There is a time to grieve losses. There's a time to pray. Now it is time for us to move beyond, just not only weep over the losses, grieve over the losses. And yes, we need to pray and continue to pray, but we've got to move on and begin to rebuild our lives. Hear me. We've wept. You've prayed. Those are good. But also we just can't stay at weeping and praying, because prayer is action like love. It is a verb. We do. And so it's just time, not just to weep, not just to pray, but it's time to build and to rebuild, because the rebuilding will be accelerated. The assignments of God for your life and mine are going to be accomplished, and they will begin to move at a pace that you've not known. And so I just believe this is our opportunity to inspire others to begin to believe God that the best of their life isn't behind them. In Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, they said to me, things are not going, now I'm not beginning the series, so we're going to go back through this, but this is just that overview. So they said to me, things are not going well for those who return to the province of Judah. They're in great trouble and disgrace. The walls of Jerusalem have been torn down, and the gates have been destroyed by fire. When I heard this, I sat down and wept. In fact, for days I mourned, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven. Look, I understand. All of us have wept over this past year. All of us have felt like the walls of Jerusalem, 2020, it felt like has been torn down, and the gates have been destroyed, and there's just so much heartache and so much just uncertainty and all of those things that we all struggled with in fear and worry and anxiety. But this is our moment when he says, I love this. I sat down and I wept. In fact, for days I mourned and I fasted and prayed to the God of heaven. When you build, it's going to look different. Anything we build in 2021 will look very, very different than what we thought we were going to build. I think 2020, the pandemic, literally awakened the entire church to do things differently, or maybe to refocus. Our message has never changed. It will never change. Our methods have to change. They have to change if we're going to reach the people that God has in store for us to reach. Ways that we're going to do it different. I mean, people, churches, leaders went online because that's all there was. There was no other way to reach your community of faith. And so a lot of us had to redo, because you know what? We've got to get in the game. We've got to realize that things are changing. And so I believe that even the new normal will be better. It'll be better. Like I'm loving my journey right now with God. I get to see people here, and I get to minister to people around the world that there may be nations I'll never get to. But you know what? Here we are. Here we are. Like literally through a lens. And the Spirit of God that knows no distance, no time, and doesn't stop because of a lens. Literally the Spirit of God working through all of that to connect our faith, to see miracles happen in your life, in my life. I mean, we can literally agree. Your comments, your likes, your shares, all of those things. It's amazing to me, because even the body of Christ, though I love and hate social media, we're connecting, but we can't allow social media to disconnect us as well. It is so important that as things change, we've got to come back face to face, because that's where our joy is experienced. That's when our joy is felt. So I just want to tell you, you're missed. I don't care what church you go to, you're missed. When you're not there, something is missing. There's something of you that fits into that puzzle piece, like you are that puzzle piece that is so needed in that body. Don't stay home. Don't stay home. Make sure that you connect. You don't fit, you belong. This is where you belong. And that is so important. So for those of you that, it's been a while where you have felt like where you've belonged. Thank God, as all the things are changing, find your way back. Be in the atmosphere of community and faith and worship with others. That's why David said, come and magnify the Lord with me. Like I can magnify him and he's this big. But when you come and you magnify him with me, he's now way bigger than what I imagined. There's something powerful that happens. That's why Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. Yeah, we can do this alone, but we can't. Because when we come together, our faith is united. When we touch something in his name, it's done. You're missed. You're missed. Don't get so comfortable. I hope the Lord will literally set a fire on your behind if you get too comfortable. And he shatters that box of comfort and gets you back where you belong, where not only do you fit, but where you belong. Because your anointing adds. Your anointing adds. And literally every time people gather and all those layers of God's presence and faith and prayers, something powerful happens. And God is magnified into this massive, massive, Father. And people begin to believe different because they've worshiped together. So I know things are going to go back to whatever normal is, or maybe the new normal. But God has been reconstructing and realigning your life. I believe 2020 has been that year of interruption because God is reconstructing and realigning your life. And the blueprint for your future has been reconfigured and reshaped. We have to take advantage of this time of acceleration. In Nehemiah 2, verses 4 and 5, listen to what it says. The king said, "Well, how can I help you?" With a prayer to God of heaven, I replied, "If it please the king, and if you are pleased with me, your servant, send me to Judah to rebuild the city where my ancestors are buried." This is a year to rebuild. And because I believe you have favor with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, this will be our year to rebuild. Where things have been buried, God is going to remove the rubble. And like Nehemiah, you may face obstacles and oppositions. You may face critics and negativity. Those who come against you are fueled by fear and self-interest. Do not give them a voice in your life, and do not give them a place in your life, because everything is about them. It has nothing to do with you. They want to paralyze your success. They want to paralyze you moving forward because they simply want to keep you in that place of where you just feel like you're so dependent on them, or they are so dependent on you. It is so important that we allow God to do this work in us. So like Nehemiah, no matter what oppositions, no matter what obstacles, no matter critics, no matter negativity, those who come against you recognize that they are fueled by fear and their self-interest. It isn't about you, it is about them. And so I believe in this year, there's going to be a cleaning of your house, of relationships, people that you just don't need to do life with anymore, where God takes and removes more and more takers out of your life, because there's something about this year in you rebuilding everything, including relationships. So listen to this, because I love this. Nehemiah 6, and I believe this is going to be one of the key verses. In fact, I really believe that it's still unfolding for me, and I'm just really open with you about it. This is just the beginning. And I think in the coming weeks, the word will become clearer and clearer and clearer to me. But I believe this is one of the major verses for me in this year. And so it's Nehemiah 6 and verse 3. And we're going to revisit the entire story of Nehemiah. I just believe this is a year, it's time to rebuild. And I want to rebuild according to God's word. Like we looked at Joseph, like we looked at Elijah. I can just go on. I just believe 2021 will be the year of Nehemiah. And I believe God is going to raise up so many Nehemiahs, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in business. So here's what I wrote. There are people in your life that want to keep you stuck and keep you unsuccessful. And your response needs to be like Nehemiah's response. And it's found right here in Nehemiah 6 and verse 3. And I pray that you will make this a part of your daily declaration. And here's what it says. He said, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down to you. Like, we're going to be so busy doing God's work, we do not have time for the negativity. We do not have time for the strife. We do not have time for the drama. We do not have time for the nonsense, because there's a great work being done. It is time to rebuild your life. It is time to rebuild your vision. It is time to rebuild your faith. It is time to rebuild your hopes. It is time to rebuild everything that God has given. Literally, He's spoken to you. Those things that you've just put them down. I really believe this, guys. I really, really believe this, that our comeback line is going to be to all of the negativity, to everyone pulling us in every different direction, but the way that God wants us to go. Your phrase will be, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down to you. Like, I am not going to stoop down to your level, because I've got something that is feeding my spirit. I've got a great work to be done here, because here it is. At the end of the day, you and I are going to stand before God, not our families, not our loved ones, not our friends. You and I are going to stand before God alone, and He's going to ask you one thing. What did you do with what I gave you? Did you bury it? Did you bury your talents? Or did you use them to increase my kingdom? Did you use them to bless others and to encourage others? And so grab a hold of this verse. I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down to your level. I can't come up, I can't come off this wall to get involved in a drama that does not belong to me. And so don't keep looking backwards at the good old days, at that sense of reminiscing or nostalgic, days and moments, because God never leads His people backwards. And He's taking you forward into a future that He's prepared for you. We know Jeremiah 29:11. I won't quote it now. So some things are never going to return to the way, they're never going to go back to the way they were. And here's the thing, it's okay. That's all right. We still are going to move on. And the beauty of moving on is this, is that whatever is ahead is going to be better than what was. I assure you of that. And the beauty of that is that God is going to be with us every step of the way, as He was with us this year. And so it's time to get up. It's time to shake the dust off your feet. It is time to stop weeping, and it is time to start building and rebuilding your life. For those with faith, and favor is being released for enlargement and expansion, because it is time to build for the future. I'll say that again. It is time to build for your future. So it is time to literally get up off the ground like David did after the death of his son. No word, no prophetic word, no angelic host, no angelic experience. Literally, David knew his son was dead. David knew it's over. Now I have to get up and go about my day and go about what God has called me to do. It is time for you and I, no matter what has happened, you've been on the ground, you've given up, you want to throw in the towel. No, you can't. It's time to get up, because what's in store, if you didn't hear this earlier on, out of David's greatest tragedy came his greatest blessing. And could it be that out of our most difficult year, 2020, here comes 2020 and one, and think about the one, right? The one. And one, and He's going to make that year, this coming year, the greatest blessing you've ever known. That's where my faith is, because of what God can do. And so it's time. Shake the dust off your feet. Stop crying. Stop weeping over the past. And it's time to start building and rebuilding your life, because I believe there's a faith there. I believe there's a favor there. And as that favor and that faith is released, there's going to be an expansion of your life. There's going to be an enlargement of your life, because it is time to build for the future. Please hear me. Write this down. 2021. It's time to build for the future. And so in Nehemiah 6:15, it says, so on October 2nd, the wall was finished, just 52 days after we had begun. You talk about acceleration. You talk about acceleration because a man was focused on what God had called him to do. And so we are about to enter into a really interesting season, I believe, for the church, with a lot of change that has already happened and a lot of potential change that will be happening now through the rest of this year. But I know this, we will continue to move forward one step at a time, knowing that God is with us. Now, there's something about change that you and I just need to sort of settle into. Change can be uncomfortable and disorienting. We all know that because we've all experienced it. But it also can be refreshing and renewing. And I believe that 2021, we've gone through the discomfort of 2020. And we've been, it's not on top of the confusion, it's been somewhat disorienting. And it's like we're trying to find our way. But I believe 2021 will be refreshing and renewing. Like in the midst of all of the heartache of 2020 and all of the uncomfortability and all the things that were we were uncomfortable, and there was discomfort, and there was this sense of just being disoriented. Here comes refreshing and a renewal and a renewing. And there's some people that hate change, some people love change, but ultimately God uses change in our lives to do some really important things in us and through us. And so, yes, change can be uncomfortable. Yes, change can be disorienting, but yet it can be refreshing and renewing. And I believe that God is positioning you and I for that refreshing and that renewing for change. And so here's one of the things that I shared, that I'm going to share with you. Here's what God does through change. He reminds us of what never changes. And so in change, he reminds us of what never changes. And that is this. The Christian life isn't built on sand that moves and shifts with change. Our lives are built on a solid rock, and his name is Christ. His name is Jesus Christ, and he is our Lord. And this is why it's so important, because your life and mine isn't built on any sand that shifts back and forth. When your life is built on the solid rock of Christ, then there is a stability that no matter what comes, I'm not shifted, I'm not swayed by atmospheres around me. And so I realize that it is because my life is built on the solid rock, and his name is Jesus, and it's the finished work of Calvary. And so that's where, for me, again, just that reminder that he reminds us of the things that never change. So in times of change, especially if we're tempted to be anxious or to be fearful, we can cling to the faith of Christ, the faith of Jesus on that cross for us. Number two, God often uses seasons of change to stir our hearts for a fresh faith and a renewed vision for work that he's called us to do. And so I believe that as we enter into this coming year, that yes, there's been a lot of change. And that change that has been so difficult, that has been so disorienting, that has been so uncomfortable, in the midst of that, there is a refreshing and there is a renewing. But in that, we've realized our faith in Christ, and that we can literally stand still and stand upon that rock whose name is Jesus. In that all that changes that's going on around us, that I just believe God has been stirring our hearts. He's been getting us uncomfortable. I know that there's so many of us leaders have been in that place of discomfort because of all the changes. But yet in the midst of that, there is fresh faith and renewed vision for the work that he's called you to do. And I want to just spend a moment on that. I want you to know every single one of you is called. Every single one of us. You, me, what I do and what you do may be totally different, but we're both called. Every single one of you in this room is called by God. And he's given you a specific assignment. He's given you a specific plan, and he's given you a specific plan. 2021 has to be your year to rebuild according to God's plan and not your plan or other people's plan for your life. And so why that is so important is I just believe that God wants to refresh, like there's got to be a fresh faith blowing into your heart about your life and a renewed vision for the season ahead for you. God not only saved us by good works. We are saved for a great work. And that work is to share the love of Jesus with broken people. For me, it is a huge part of everything that's ahead of me. And how I'm going to do that, how I'm going to partner with others to do that. So as we walk through these final days of 2020, we want to focus not on the change, but we want to focus our eyes on Christ. Focus your eyes on Jesus in these coming days, who is the author and the finisher of your faith. And that's where this whole story of Nehemiah comes in, that we are going to begin to unpack in the coming weeks. Because Nehemiah is all about God's people rallying together to do a great work of rebuilding. And with the good hand of God upon them, they were able to overcome, and they were able to overcome opposition, discouragement, fear, weariness, corruption. And they were able to get the work done in record time. And so the first half of Nehemiah is about building the wall, and the second half of Nehemiah is about building a community of faith. I want you to hear that. The first half of Nehemiah was about rebuilding the wall, and then the second half was about building the community of faith. And so I'm going to be moving into this series in a couple of weeks, actually next week, and I'm calling it the Year of Rebuilding. And Nehemiah's story is going to blow your mind and mine. I love studying it because building is what Nehemiah is all about. Building is what Jesus is all about. And you'll see the connection between the two, between Jesus' life and Nehemiah's life. Matthew 6:18, as I'm going to wrap this up. Matthew 6:18 says this, "Now I say to you, that you, Peter, which means rock, upon this rock I will build my church, and the power of hell will not conquer it." And so I believe that Jesus is calling us to launch out in new ways in 2021. And I'm asking the Lord to reveal those ways to you, which is why I'm saying, hold up your lamp. Hold up your lamp so you can begin to see what God wants you to see for the days ahead. He's calling us. There's going to be things that you and I are going to do very, very differently in 2021 than we did in possibly any other year of our life. I believe that, by the way, 100%. And I know that from my life personally. And so in Luke chapter 8, verse 22, I'm going to read just a couple of verses. There's 3 verses here that I'm going to read. In verse 22, it says this, "Now it happened on that certain day," Jesus is talking to his disciples, "that he got," I want you to see this, "that he got into the boat with his disciples." He got into the boat with his disciples, "and he said to them, 'Let us cross over to the other side of the lake.' And they launched out." I believe we're on that threshold. I just believe we're on that threshold right now. There's something about 2021 that is going to require you and I to launch out in a new way. And so then in verse 26 and 27 of Luke chapter 8, same chapter, it says, "They sailed to the country and which was opposite of Galilee." And here's why: because there was somebody there that needed the touch of Jesus. And it says, "So when he stepped out on the land, there met him a man from a city who had demons." And so literally they were actually going in one direction when Jesus told them to launch out, but they ended up at a different destination. And so there's something about this launching out that I think for all of us, there's something different about this year ahead. And so I think about, it seems simple, but yet it's kind of profound, that Jesus had them launch out from this side of the lake in order to get to the other side of the lake. And listen, there was a purpose, a destination in their launch. As you and I launch into 2021, there is purpose. Hear me. There is purpose. This is not a launching out into wishful thinking. This is not a launching out into, well, I don't know. This is actually a launching out into purpose. There is a purpose. There's a purpose why the Lord wants us to hold up our lamps. There is a purpose why the Lord wants you and I to rebuild. There is a destination. So there is a purpose, a destination to their launch. In this case, it was a demoniac who needed to be delivered by Jesus. And so they were going somewhere to do something that God wanted done. And I believe that for you and I. There is a purpose in this launch. There's a purpose in this rebuilding, and that there's something that God wants to do in you and through you. Because if we're going to follow Jesus, the same will be true for us as well. We're going to be launching out. We may not know where we're going, but He is in the boat with you. He's in the boat with me, and wherever we end up is going to be exactly where He wanted to take us. And so listen, God's will isn't a landing pad. God's will isn't a landing pad where we hang out until we die. No, God's will is a launching pad, not a landing pad. It is a launching pad to take us to a specific destination that He has purposed for our lives. God has a specific destination in the next 365 days. When the year 2021 begins, there is a specific destination, there is a specific purpose, there is a specific something that you and I are called by God to do, and we've got to stay focused. We've got to rebuild, because this is why I believe it is so important to fix your eyes on Jesus in 2021, unlike any other year in the past. So as we launch out into God's will, as we launch out in God's will, we know that Jesus will be with us. He's in the boat with us. He's never left. He's never gotten out of the boat. He will be with us. And we are going to do exactly what He has called us to do for the coming year. And so the Lord has new destinations planned for you in 2021. And great things, there's great things in store. There are great things that He's going to do in your life, and He is with you every step of the way, but you need to launch out. I need to launch out. If we're going to reach those destinations, we cannot reach those destinations standing still, sitting still, and not doing something to say, it is time for me to rebuild the life and the purposes of God in my life. And they're going to begin today. I'm going to begin to rebuild all of that today. So He had the disciples push off from the land, and then they started sailing in the same way. We need to launch out with faith and take this new, whatever that new territory is, whatever that new thing is that God has in store for you. Because listen, this is not hype. This is exactly what I believe the Lord is saying to all of us, that God has ordained a certain way. God has ordained a certain work for your life, for my life, and I'm telling you, I'm grabbing a hold of it with every ounce of my being. God doesn't do everything for us. We've got to be a part of that journey by obeying what He's asking us to do. So I'm challenging you. This is going to be probably one of my shortest messages right here. I'm challenging you because I'm challenging my own journey. There's a season ahead that is filled with blessing. And this isn't one of those, I'm not going to say it, I'm not going to go there. God is calling you and I to trust Him. And no matter what you've been through in this season, even if December 31st is filled with hardship, what God has in store, what He can do in a few hours, can be more than what you've tried to do all year long. He's calling you. I want you to hear me. He's calling you. He's calling you to do something with your life. No matter who tries to hold you back, no matter who tries to suppress, no matter who's tried to hurt you, He loves you. And you don't allow anyone, any force, any lie to hold you back. I know what that's like. The voices of the Pharisees, the voices of the critics, the voices of those I called my brothers and my sisters in Christ. If I would have listened to what they were saying, I wouldn't be here. Maybe I wouldn't actually be here at all. I can't tell you how many times I thought about ending my life. I understand. I know exactly what we go through. I believe that 2021 is going to be, for many of you, a year that God is going to give back to you what has been taken, or maybe what you've even allowed. Many of you are going to hear His voice in the coming days. You're going to hear His voice concerning your destiny. You're going to hear His voice concerning His call over your life that so many have tried to suppress and push down and bury. There's a freedom coming. There's a freedom coming from all the oppression. And for everyone who's tried to hold you back, even the memories of the past, He's going to shatter those chains. Because at the end of the day, it's His purpose that matters. It's His voice that matters. It's His anointing on your life that matters. And all the naysayers, their voices will be silent and will be silenced by God Himself. Because He who began a good work in you, He's faithful to finish. And He will finish it even until the day that Jesus returns. So what others have tried to take away and remove, God is saying to you and me, this year is going to be the year that I will rebuild everything and give back everything that others and even hell itself tried to take away from you. This is why I believe this is so important. 2020 and one. And one could be your freedom. And one can be your healing. And one can be your breakthrough. And one can be your blessings. And one can be your faith. And one can be your calling. And one can be your victory. And one can be your hope. This is about you and God. This isn't about you and God and others. This is about you and God. Do not despise the voice of His calling. Do not despise the anointing that He's placed on your life. No matter who said you're not. No matter who said you're not worthy of it. When God gives you a gift, He doesn't take it back. He trusts you And I'm telling you, I feel his presence on this in such a prophetic way. It's time to rebuild. It is your time, it is my time to rebuild, because out of that rebuilding is going to come everything that he's going to make new in your life and in mine. I'm holding on to this like you are, and like you are in this room. It's time to let go. Let go of the past season. Shake off the dust. Shake off the negativity. Shake off the voices. Shake off everything that has tried to hold you back and realize greater is he that is in you than he that is in this world. Yeah. So let me go back to the verse that I believe is for you and I to grab a hold of. Man, it's just hitting me really hard. Man, if you could just repeat this after me with me. It's Nehemiah 6:3. I'm doing a great work. And I can't come down to you. Yeah, come on, let's say it again. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down to you. One more time. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down to you. I'm going to ask you to stand, if you will, in this room, and if you'll join us online. And God never leads his people backwards. Never. And I don't know why, but he's literally speaking to me through this verse to you. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot go down to you. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus for every restriction, every hindrance, every voice that has tried to silence, paralyze, shame, Father, we've wept. We've shed a lot of tears. And we've prayed. And we've believed. But we can't stop there. I ask you, in these coming days, that you will shatter the chains that 2020 has placed around us and placed around our faith. That you will silence the voices of those who want to keep us stuck in a dimension of brokenness, in that dimension of shame. And for those, Lord, that have just literally purposed their life to make sure that our lives will never be successful, Father, here is our response to all of them. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down to you. Lord, I ask that today be the beginning of a rebuilding of hope, a rebuilding of faith, a rebuilding of blessings and miracles. And that the voices that have shamed us and the voices that have caused us to live within this prison of fear, Lord God, are silenced. And so, Lord, we hold up our lamp, not only for our own lives, but for the lives that will follow us, for the lives that we will touch with the light of hope, the light of salvation, the light of freedom, that in whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Lord, I hold up your light for those that are watching, for those that are in this room. Father, I hold up your light and say, Father, would you shine upon them? Let them see their lives, not the way they've been told their lives look, not even the way that they've seen their own life, but let them see their lives through your eyes, through your light, through your grace, through your truth. Snap the chains and break us free from every mindset of defeat, every mindset of shame, every mindset of abuse and trauma, every mindset of lies and deceptions, every mindset of suspicion, every mindset of hurt. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus. Would you just say these words with me? Snap the chains. Snap the chains that hold me back. God, I thank you. Would you just take a moment and just lift your hands to him if you can? I'm going to ask Trey to lead us just in one more song of worship. Whatever God puts on his heart. This is the last Sunday of the year. We began it with worship. Let us close it with worship. It is going to be a good year ahead. I thank you for those of you that have stood with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. May God reward your life for every life that we've had the privilege of touching here and online. We can't do it without you. Thank you for every seed you've sown. Thank you for those hours of hard work so that you can be blessed by God through that job, that you would take a portion of that seed, take a portion of those finances and sow them into his kingdom, whether it's here or somewhere else. Thank you for working so hard so that you can have something to give. May God bless you so much. In every way, thank you. That is also an act of our worship in our giving. Now, we close this day with our hearts lifted. So grateful that this year he's brought us through. And we praise him in the same way for the year ahead of us. Because it is time to rebuild. It will be 2020 and one. Get ready for the and one of unexpected blessings in your life. I'm going to just turn it over to Trey. We're going to worship, and then I'm going to come back and say bye. Bye to this year. I love you. Love you so much, Bob. Thank you guys for an amazing year. Thank you for all the encouragement, all the comments, the shares, the likes, all that stuff. But most of all, thank you for you, your heart. It has been such a privilege. I never take this lightly. Thank you for the privilege of allowing me into your heart, into your life, the privilege of ministering God's word to you. It's time. It's time. It's time for you and I to get back up on that wall and start rebuilding. And so to the close of 2020, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. May the Lord go before you. May the Lord send his angels before you to prepare your way. May his angels go behind you and be your rear guard of protection. May the Lord chase down your enemies and cause them to flee from you in 7 different ways. May the Lord prosper all that you put your hands to. May the Lord make you the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. May the Lord give you houses that you didn't build. May the Lord give you wells that you didn't dig. May the Lord give you vineyards that you did not plant. May the Lord himself be your counselor. May the Lord himself be your healer. May the Lord himself be your deliverer. May the Lord himself be your provider in every facet of your life. Hold up your lamp and hold it high, because there is great things ahead. I love you guys so much. I love you with my heart. Thank you for the privilege. And I'll see you next Sunday in the new year. And get ready, because it is time to rebuild.
Thank you so much for
your
joining
life
us today. We are
and your ministry and your vision. In Jesus' name. I love you guys. Happy Sunday. And bye-bye to 2020. I love you guys. See you next year. All right, bye everybody. Bye-bye. I love you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are extremely grateful for everyone who supports us, whether it's by watching, praying, or even just being a part of our family. Because of the generosity of people like you, we're able to share this message of hope to people all around the world. If you'd like to be a part of what we're doing, we have a couple ways you can do so. You can text GIVE to the number below, click the link in our description, or visit tgporlando.com. We just want to thank you so much for being a part of our TGP family, and we'll see you next time.